Hey, I'm Mel, and I went to Hong Kong. June 23rd, 2019, at 6:30 p.m., I flew out of San Antonio, Texas, up to Seattle, Washington, with my cousin Chris to meet up with our two uncles that live in Portland, Oregon, the people who were taking us on these next couple of life-changing journeys for our 16th birthdays. When we were younger, our uncles declared that they would take us anywhere we choose, the summer of our 16th birthdays, and here we are today. This first chapter is only the beginning. Our second flight from Seattle left around 2 a.m. on Monday morning, and then we landed at about 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning due to crossing the international date line costing us 24 hours. We were late to buy the plane tickets, so we didn't fly business class on these first two plane rides. We flew premium. On our specific plane, first class wasn't an option. Seattle to Hong Kong might have been a long flight, but my cousin and I got quite a bit of sleep, so the time went by pretty quickly. On this flight was when I realized that I couldn't really be vegan while traveling unless I wanted to starve 26 out of the 27 hours in a day. After a couple of movies, a couple hours of sleep, and a couple of rude male flight attendants, we finally made it to Hong Kong. Right off the bat, we had to take a tram-like thing to get into town, which would later continue to be one of the more popular modes of transportation. The whole time we were there, the humidity was off the charts and the temperature was almost always around 103 to 104. As for our hotel, we stayed at the Renaissance Harborview Hotel of Hong Kong, which was the view you saw at the beginning of the video from Chris and I's hotel room, which was on the 38th floor. Since our uncles stayed in their own separate room on another floor, we would plan a time each morning for us to meet for breakfast, and this was our morning view, at least for the next 3 to 4 days. This was basically just an extension from our bedroom view from earlier, and just a couple stories up. My non-vegan breakfasts consisted of mainly fruit, eggs, a cappuccino, and maybe some sausage links or potato wedges. Might I add, the cappuccino was from a manual Starbucks machine, and the espresso was amazing, but spoiler, not as good as African coffee, by far. By the end of the trip, my uncles had many photos of me looking through my camera or videoing on my phone. My cousin and I got to do plenty of exploring, which was pretty cool considering we were halfway around the world. We visited the hotel's quote-unquote garden that had some unimpressive ponds and not many typical gardeny plants. But past that were some tennis courts on the left and a playground to the right that was supposedly for children 5 and under. Past all that was what I like to call the poor people pool. I don't have any footage from the nicer pool, but trust me, if you saw it, you would understand. Anyways, of course we went to the playground, where we found and stole some native Asian tennis balls. And also where I made my cousin take pictures of me in a gazebo we found in the corner of the playground. Thanks, Chris, and hey, check out my Instagram. Then we visited the hotel exercise center, which had a cute vibe going for it, from its yoga room to its weight station, but we soon left and didn't come back after getting one too many dirty looks, most likely for being young and or white. My blonde hair was also a head turner. I noticed in stores there, the beauty section had no hair dye colors anywhere close to being blonde. Now onto the urban side of Hong Kong. I found it kind of odd how we would pass jungle-like areas and then straight up construction sites or a freaking nice house with 4 Lambos parked out front. We rode a trammed type thing again, but it was also low-key a big bus, to this hill with a beachy area where I of course found a Starbucks, although I ordered the wrong thing because of the language barrier and me not wanting to ask extra questions. I also tried milk tea, which I make at work now, and yes, I make it vegan with soy or coconut milk, white or black tea, and some artificial sweeteners. We also went around and tried to find some cute things to buy at this place that was kind of like a flea market, but everyone had their own little garage type space. We didn't find anything good, but we did come across this little red temple by an ocean outlook. The ocean looked really calming and nice from afar, but when looking closer, especially near the bay areas, a lot of pollution was floating in the water. To be frank, Hong Kong was probably my least favorite place out of my whole trip. I'm not sure if it was the pollution in the air or the water or both, but everywhere we went seemed to have an odd smell that wasn't very pleasant to me. And with all the construction on the roads and on new buildings, that really took away from Hong Kong's beauty. It seemed to me you were either looking at something amazing and complex or something still in the works. But to me, both good and bad sights smelt foully. Though on that note, while I thought the native food smelt weird, my uncles thought the opposite, so these are just my opinions and thoughts on my experiences. Anyways, back to the beach. All this didn't stop people from going out on boats or, like us, just enjoying the peaceful vibes the area seemed to emit. One thing that really stuck out about Hong Kong and what they are just kind of known for is their amazing architecture, especially on their skyscrapers, because they have a lot of them. Like I said, the buildings that aren't under construction are 90% of the time literal works of art. Hong Kong is definitely a place that deserves praise for building up rather than out like most places these days. They have over 9,000 high-rise buildings, which over 1,500 of them are skyscrapers, meaning it towers over 328 feet. While San Antonio has 93 high-rise buildings, 8 of which are skyscrapers. Hong Kong is 428 square miles, and San Antonio is literally over 465. Or take a big city like LA, which is over 502 square miles in size. It has 760 high-rise buildings, with 68 that are considered skyscrapers. This makes Hong Kong have 74.7 less square miles, but 8,240 more high-rise buildings and 1,432 more skyscrapers. On the note of skyscrapers, this was the day we went up to the hill that could be seen from our bedroom lookouts. The hill was named Victoria Peak. We went up on top of its tower named Peak Tower, which is 1,299 feet in elevation. Me being scared of heights, I was proud I made it up there, but I avoided the glass sides and made my uncle video what it looked like over the edge down to the hill. Then it was back to the hotel. Did I mention how crazy they drive over there? And yes, that is one of the places where you must drive on the left side of the road. This is another day where we really just went across the harbor on a ferry, which we rode quite a bit actually. That day we went to the mall where we just shopped and ate. Here is some footage of some of the places I thought were unique and really just sum up Hong Kong for you, which for a place with a lot of construction, it also had so much greenery. Sometimes you almost felt like you were in a forest or in a rural area, when in reality, just around the corner or on the other side of the road is an apartment complex surrounded by so many urban qualities. Here's the ferry I talked about riding a lot. This was our last night in Hong Kong, the 26th of June, until we returned for a while again on the 8th of July. Every single night at 8 and 9 o'clock at night, Hong Kong had their light show that lasts about 15 to 20 minutes. Even though it was literally only 8 p.m., I remember my cousin and I being so tired that afterwards we went straight to our beds instead of touring the town more. The light show was beautiful, as you can tell, but it was a little hard to concentrate with sleep on our minds. And then we were off to our next journey.